All right, we are live with the Embracing Joy podcast. I'm so excited to have you all to join with me today. We have a very, very special guest, Dr. Crystal Nelson, and I'm going to tell you more about her. The more I learn about her, the more and more impressed I am with all that she's been able to accomplish and do in the field of mental health and well-being. So it's a pleasure to have you on, Dr. Nelson.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I so appreciate the opportunity, and I'm looking forward to the chat with you as well.
Thank you. So just, as a reminder, our podcast is to help high achieving professionals embrace joy in their professional and personal lives. So this is a critically important topic for everyone. Mental health care is important for everyone, but especially people who are in high achieving fields, in my opinion, because they may undergo additional stressors or they may undergo additional pressure that may affect their mental health. And because they are high achievers, they may feel that they can't get that support, or they may be more hesitant to get mental health support because they feel that, I have achieved so much, I don't need mental health care, or I don't need to see a doctor, because I know there's people that are suffering in a different way, and that may not be me. So it stops a lot of high achievers from getting care. So I think this topic is so important for all of our listeners, and it's just such a pleasure to have you on.
Yeah.
So yeah. So let me tell the audience more about you. I'm going to go through your bio. That's okay with you?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So Dr. Crystal Nelson, she's a board certified and licensed psychiatrist. She's a distinguished medical authority, and she's an entrepreneur in the realm of mental health. She's a CEO and founder of two Georgia companies, Blueprint Psychiatry and Blueprint TMS and Wellness Centers of America. And in less than 5 years, she's expanded her services to more than 4,000 people. And she's received hundreds of 5-star reviews and satisfied clients. She has devoted her career to provide exceptional service, and she's revolutionized behavioral health treatment with a patient-centered approach. I love that. And her approach is unique because she combines genetics, cutting edge technology, and even nutrition counseling to produce exceptional outcomes in clients or patients that were suffering from treatment resistant depression and other mental illnesses that they may not have gotten that care elsewhere. She has a unique ability to translate complex psychological and psychiatric content or information into accessible language so that her patients and clients can gain a deeper insight into their illness and to reclaim their mental wellness. She has helped to transform countless lives, and she set a new standard in her field of mental health. Wow, that's just phenomenal what you've been able to accomplish and the
Yes.
unique way that you're doing it. I haven't heard of many mental health professionals that are incorporating genetics and nutrition. And we know that there's a connection between the gut and the brain and our nutrition as well. So I love that you're able to incorporate that. So I'm not finished. I'm going to continue a little bit more, but with your bio. But if you want to add anything, come on, you can tell me.
Yeah, no, I was like, gosh, is she going to read my whole bio? Because, when you're sitting,
Wanna read the whole thing?
on the side and you're listening to your bio, you're like, oh, man, did I do all of that stuff?
You did amazing things. We have to celebrate you, and also so that people know the expertise that you're bringing live to our audience. And this is free, y'all. We on YouTube, so so you're bringing this wealth of expertise, and people should know. So I'm going to say just a little bit more, and then we'll get to the meat and the potatoes of our interview. Okay. So, Dr. Nelson has also appeared on headline news with CNN and Fox, and she's been featured on articles for Working Mother, Voyage ATL, Canvas Rebel, and Atlanta Magazine. And she is recognized as a leading expert. She's also earned the title of Top Docs Atlanta in
Mhm.
2023. Okay. And in the field of psychiatry, an honor that recognizes the most exemplary healthcare professionals by unanimous vote from their colleagues. So not only is she great with the patients, her colleagues love her too because they voted for her to be a top Atlanta. So that's wonderful. She's treated over thousands of patients. She's also treated celebrities and public figures. And because of her experience, she's also a sought after speaker. She has captivated audience from coast to coast on topics such as entrepreneurship, self-care, genomics, depression, anxiety, grief, PTSD, and work-life balance. She even published her own guidebook titled "A Blueprint." See it, a blueprint to better mental health, which I have here. So, wow, thank you so much. And not only she did that, I could tell you about more of her college, her education. She's a graduate of the Spelman College in Atlanta, Georgia, and she earned her Doctorate of Medicine from Morehouse School of Medicine, and she went on to complete her psychiatry residency at Virginia Commonwealth University in Richmond, Virginia. She also has some additional training in geriatric psychiatry from Emory University. I'm an Emory University alumnus, so that's
Oh,
wonderful in Atlanta, Georgia. And she also serves as adjunct faculty professor at Morehouse School of Medicine, where she proudly collaborates to train the next generation of medical doctors. So thank you for
yeah,
joining us and sharing your expertise with our audience. And but they need to know who they're listening, who they're getting the information
yeah.
from. And you have a wealth of experience, knowledge, and expertise. And it's important that the audience know that. So that thank you for joining us.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I was saying to another interviewer on a previous interview that I did, I said, I'm pretty sure that when someone's reading your bio, that it probably doesn't go as long as it feels to you. It probably feels a lot shorter to your audience. But when you're the person, you're sitting there because you're like recounting all those real moments. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, I did that. I sound really busy. So, so
Yes. Yes, you do sound busy, but you're wearing it well. I don't know how, I'm glad you were able to join us today.
yeah. 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 So
Yeah.
thank you. So I appreciate that. And I appreciate you inviting me on to talk about, especially talking to high functioning, high end professionals, because my practice literally changed so much after the pandemic. I saw more working professionals, particularly working professional women, than I had ever seen in my entire career
Wow.
after the pandemic, who were dealing with just being overwhelmed, stress, anxiety, trying to balance and carry all of the responsibilities that they were already carrying, but then the fuel to the fire being the pandemic thrown on board.
Mhm.
It was a lot, and it's been a lot.
Mhm.
And I think they were forced into making the choice of getting some help. So this is a really important topic.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. And it seems that I don't know if this is the case for a lot of high achieving professionals, but it's difficult to get help, or you may not want to get help, but you may reach a point where you have no choice but to get help, right? And that's when they may, find themselves like talking to you or help you because you realize that it is serious, mental health, it can be life or death, right? And it
Yeah.
can change your whole trajectory in terms of your family dynamic, your personal life, your work. So
Right.
it's important to not wait until it becomes so dire. Even though a lot of high achieving professionals do that because they don't feel like they can get help, or because they're high achieving, they don't automatically get help. It may wait until they have to get help, right?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And it's not that simple.
Mhm.
So, as much as we would like to say we are doing an amazing job with trying to decrease the stigma surrounding mental health, there still is a stigma, and we are living in a real world. So, it's very similar to, let's say you saw your kids, superintendent of school
Mhm.
in the cancer treatment center.
Mhm.
It's not that you would, go and tell everyone, but would you not have concerns? Gosh, is he or she still able to do their job the same? They're going through this cancer treatment. Do they know this guy or this
Mhm.
lady's going through that? So if you see, the judge in the psychiatrist's office,
Mhm.
then there is a real situation there. Are we concerned now that can the judge do their job?
Right.
Wow. Now, the judge could be at the psychiatrist's office for something as simple as ADHD. You don't know. But
Right.
again, the person in the cancer treatment center could be there supporting a loved one. But
Right.
immediately there may be some judgment, some stigma associated with that can have repercussions for that high achieving professional in their work. And that was
Right.
a really big deal. Even when we were building the practice years ago, we built the practice with that in mind, where if I did have someone that was a public figure and they needed to be seen, was there an interest that they could come in where they were not, having to come through the front waiting room, if they needed
Mhm.
to avoid that just for their own privacy so that they could feel safe getting care. And again, so that's just not an easy space to navigate as a high achieving professional to
Right.
get
Or as a doctor, right? So if
right.
you're a doctor, you're in a psychiatrist's office as a
Right.
patient. You may have a
Exactly.
patient that may come in and, that may also cause a lot of stigma, or that patient, you may feel that that patient won't trust you anymore because they may think that you have some type of mental illness, which is associated with stigma, even though it could be anything that you may be dealing with. Like, could be just
Absolutely.
yeah, anything that you could be dealing with. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we see post-pandemic, I mean, the amount of physicians that I
Mhm.
see, I mean, it really skyrocketed. And again, we have to manage that. So, these are my colleagues that I refer patients to,
Mhm.
that refer patients back to me. So we have to manage that. Okay, when they're coming in, is it an appropriate time for them to come into the office? We don't want it to hinder their work because, of course, again, people will let their mind run free. They're going to go all the way to the most extreme mental illness they can think, schizophrenia. That may be
Mhm.
the very not at all what that person is dealing with, but that is, sort of the extreme side sometimes where the mind will go when they don't have all the answers. But every person, whether you're a physician, whether you are or not, should really have the opportunity and be able to find a safe space to be
Mhm.
able to deal with their mental health just as they would with their physical health. It really shouldn't be separated or thought of in a way that we shouldn't address it.
Right. And as far as treating a mental health, you're helping people stay functioning in society
Right.
in their capacity where they're able to contribute to their family, contribute to their society, have great relationships. That's the hallmark of taking care of your mental health. When we see that people do not take care of their mental health, we see that they may not be able to function in society, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
and then that's where that stigma comes from. But a lot of the stigma is associating people that are maybe not getting treated with people that are getting treated, right? So even someone with schizophrenia, if they are taking their medication, they're usually pretty well controlled or able to function well in society. But we see, especially where I live in Florida, there's a lack of access to mental health care. So you may see someone with schizophrenia speaking to themselves on the sidewalk, right? That's the homeless, or that's obviously not taking the medication. But
Right.
that's something,
Right.
if they were in healthcare, they could reenter, they were getting that care that you give, or and other mental health professionals, then they would be able to be reincorporated into society, right?
Right, right. And of course, again, that person that is homeless who's talking to themselves, that's not the majority,
No.
and of course that they may be our image or our very limited view of what someone looks like with schizophrenia. I mean, I literally have a client who retired as a banker from Bank of America who had schizophrenia his entire life. He got diagnosed very young, took medications the entire time, and
Mhm.
retired as a banker. So, that can be a normal image. But I really just think most of this, so much of this can change by conversations like this and just normalizing it. I love when I hear a patient come to me and I'll say, well, how did you find out about us? How did you hear about this? And they will say, oh, my doctor told me that you're their psychiatrist. I love
Oh,
that. Like,
okay.
I love that
Mhm.
because then you normalize it. "Oh, my
Mhm.
doctor said my therapist, go to my therapist." So then
Mhm.
you're normalizing it that just like you would say, "Oh, that's my PCP," or "That's
Mhm.
my hairstylist," because
Mhm.
we all have to address every area of our body, so why not? And then I don't think the patient then would have as much judgment if the doc says, "Oh, well, that's my psychiatrist, that's my therapist." You
Right.
know?
Right,
Never.
because then the patient may feel bad. Because 'cause I've gotten all sorts of comments when I say, "Maybe we should think about you seeing a mental health professional for your symptoms because I
Yeah,
see this is not getting better." Especially with some of my elderly patients, I've had some people, they're trying to lock me away. I'm like, "No, they're not trying to
right.
lock you
Right.
away."
Yeah.
But there is that stigma and issues that people may have. And that's
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
old psychiatric history, right? It's like when people well were locked away for mental illness, but that was so many years ago. And
Right.
and that would be if they were harmful to society in some way, right? And that would be
Yeah.
the
And we don't
only
even, I mean,
and
and
that doesn't
truly,
even happen really in these days at all. And this was elderly patients that I was
yeah.
taking care of that may have
Yeah.
that type of sentiment. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
saying that as well, and I've told other physicians, let's say they don't see a therapist, they don't see a psychiatrist, to refer to the patients, make it personal, say, oh, that's my mom's therapist, or that's my mom's, or even if it's a friend, oh, let me send you to my friend's
Mhm.
therapist, my friend's, psychiatrist, so that they can get it. And then to your point about being locked away, I mean, the majority of places across the country that would have even housed people in mental health facilities don't exist. The funding is not there. They were closed. So, I mean, not that there are not psychiatric facilities that will hold people for, 3 to 5 days, 9 days, very short stays, but to be
Mhm.
locked away, throw away the key, I mean, that
Yeah, doesn't happen.
I mean, you would be
Doesn't
hard
happen.
pressed to even find, places like that across the country at this
Mhm.
point because people are allowed to be different. People are allowed to be different, and just because they don't experience the world in the same way that you do does not mean that they do not have a right to participate in society.
Right.
So we just don't do that. Yeah.
Right.
So
So it's addressing these fears that people have that are not true, right? So
right,
there's a lot of fear in society, like you said, the stigma, and addressing them with the facts.
right.
It's important to know those facts, that look, you're not going to get locked away. That doesn't exist anymore. Or, this is what the treatments that are. And like you said, I love that you said, personal disclosure if you feel comfortable, in the example of the doctor saying, this is my therapist that I see,
Yeah,
or this is my family member's therapist, or this is who I would send my mom to if she needed, making
exactly.
that relationship,
Yeah,
letting them know that you
exactly.
have a positive relationship with psychiatry and mental health. It's like you're not just sending people away, you
Yeah,
are providing with them additional support. So
yeah.
I really like that. I really like that. Tell me more, Dr. Nelson, about your treatment since it's so unique, like the genetics and cutting edge technology and nutrition. Tell me more about the integrated approach and how you move to how you move from doing just, I guess, I don't know if you did just traditional psychiatry prior to having a more holistic, integrated approach, but what was that transition for you to
Yeah,
start
yeah.
like moving into more integrated approach? And can you give us a success story example as well?
Yeah, well, I'll say it really started, I mean, even my journey going into psychiatry. So I started off OBGYN and
Okay.
realized that was totally not for me. Took the advice of a mentor at the time who says, "Gosh, you spend so much time with the patients. Maybe have you thought about psychiatry?" I'm like, "Psychiatry? No way,"
Mhm.
but followed the suggestion of doing an acting internship in psychiatry and then kind of realized it was the best fit. Now, when I was in residency, my residency program overall, probably compared to a lot of residency programs, it was heavy on the therapy side along with the medical and psychiatry. Like we had med psych units, we had to go through therapy ourselves.
Mhm.
So you had to, go through some psychoanalysis. So I always knew that, okay, there's a combination. It's not just the meds. Then I graduate, like we all do. You graduate, finally, you're the attending, you're the doc, and then it's just give pills. Oh,
Mhm.
wait, I can't talk to them. Like that's why I switched from OBGYN. Like I don't get to talk to them at all. It's just give
Mhm.
them the medicine. So, I do that for some time and I'm constantly spending more time being applauded on one side for the companies that I'm working with, being applauded on one hand, like your satisfaction rates are through the roof, but hey, can you hurry up? Can you see more people? And so, just over time, realizing, okay, what I'm really wanting to do doesn't quite exist, or at least I haven't been able to find it. So I'm going to have to create it myself.
Mhm.
And so, stepping out there doing the entrepreneur thing, which is scary but so worthwhile. So stepping out there and saying, okay, this is complicated. When you ask someone how they feel, even if I were to ask you today, Dr. Makda, like, how do you feel? That's a complicated question you're
Mhm.
asking someone because
Mhm.
their feelings have been all over the place and it may be related to something that just happened. So I wanted to be able to, when I ask somebody that, really be able to give them time to tell me and then be able to address all the reasons and the influences that take place as to why you feel that way. It's not just simple, oh, sometimes you have a chemical imbalance. Let me give you something that helps you have more serotonin floating around.
Mhm.
If it were that simple, everybody who got an antidepressant would be fine.
Right.
So and we know that only 30%, about 35% of people are fine with one antidepressant. So it's more
Mhm.
complicated. So it has to do with what you eat, what your environment. Is that medication biologically even appropriate for you? Have you experienced a bunch of trauma that may have caused some short circuiting there? We don't even have all the circuitry working to move these chemicals. So I realized it's a complicated thing. And so I wanted to be able to address it in a stepwise approach. Even though I feel like psychiatry is some of the artsy side of medicine. So I have my whole artsy side, but
Mhm.
I'm also very analytical, like most of us as docs. And so I'm like, okay, there's a stepwise approach here from the start of your biology you can't control to your environment, to what you eat, to how these chemicals move in your body, all the way out to then how you think, what you say, your behavior. So I wanted to be able to, wrap it all up in one spot where they could do all of those pieces. So we had the best chance of really getting people well, not just better, not just mediocre, but really well. Because that's really what patients come to us for, to be well. They don't come to just be better.
Right.
Yeah.
I
So,
love that you said that because it ties into the Embracing Joy podcast, like the title and the purpose of it. Because, a lot of mental well being, just well being in general, we want to not just endure and survive
right.
and I made it through, but maybe suffering, but you made it through and you're surviving, right? We want people to enjoy their lives, be well, embrace the joy that's present in their life, and enjoy our time on earth. We're going to have difficult times of suffering, times where you may not be well overall, but that doesn't have to be the final story. And that doesn't have to be the end of the story. And I feel, practicing medicine and seeing through my family medicine, we rotate with psychiatry as well. And kind of that, it's the approach is to get everybody, well, not everybody, but to get people better so that they are at a normal level of functioning, not necessarily well, but that they're
Yeah,
at a, there was a term someone saw it, but it's like, so that just the normal, miserable like everybody else, not saying that, but
yeah, yeah,
but,
yeah,
but that's pretty much it. Or,
yeah,
and a lot of the medications, you hear a lot of feedback from patients that they just make them numb, right?
yeah.
So not,
Yeah. You just
not,
get them to just fall in line, and this is mediocre is acceptable. Getting through is acceptable. And again, nobody really wants that when they go to a physician or anyone, a clinician. Nobody's really wanting that. They're coming because they want to be well. Exactly what you said. They want to be enjoying their life. And I felt like in just traditional way we were doing psychiatry, or just traditional way we do Western medicine, you give people so few choices. So
mhm,
you can't be empowered when the only choice is to take the medication and get better. Well, when the medication doesn't work, but we didn't address your environment, we didn't address your food, we didn't address, the way that you're raised and how you were thinking. When you empower people with, okay, I have multiple action steps now that I can take for my wellness, I can feel empowered. So
mhm.
I can do something about this too, not simply if that med doesn't work, then what do? I go back to the doctor again and again and again to have the doctor keep changing medication. I think our whole society is kind of over that. That's why they are frustrated with healthcare, because it's not giving them health. They're
Right,
going back. It's a model that keeps them rotating through just for medication alone.
right,
Yeah.
right. Right. So I love that you said that, they want to get not just better, but overall like well. And I love that that's your practice and how holistic it is. Can you give us an example? Of course, anonymized, nothing, nothing, yeah, nothing, but an
Yeah.
example of a success story, just like a,
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the treatments that I've been doing for years now is called TMS. I started 2008 when I started training and learning it. And it's a treatment where we use magnets for the treatment of depression. And one of the first clients that I ever treated with the particular treatment, she was my client. She had her daughter sadly had committed suicide in front of her.
oh,
So
wow.
she had witnessed this and watched this as a mother. And she was a nurse. So again, a high achieving professional. She was a nurse by trade, and she just was stuck. I mean, she was in that loop of that day, that experience. I saw her for many years before we tried this procedure. We had tried meds. She was not doing well. They weren't working. We were not able to get her back to going back to work as a nurse. So this treatment comes out, I'm learning it, and I was like, hey, there's this new treatment that uses magnets. And I think it would be great because it kind of gets at somebody like yourself who experienced trauma.
Hmm.
And so she was open to it because she could continue to see me and she was still trying to get better, get well. And so we do the treatment. And first thing she said that I'll never forget, because I've told the story so many times. The first thing she said, at the time, I'm working in this office that is like old. And so the office was decorated like with these 1970 color, that neon kind of yellowish, ugly 70s color. That's
Hmm.
the color of the chairs that I had in my office. She had been coming into my office all that time. And she says, oh my God, Dr. Nelson, did you get new chairs?
Hmm.
I said, what? I said, "New chairs? Like, they look new? No, they're not new. Like, they've probably been here since 1970. They're not new." But she says, "Oh yeah, yellow is one of my favorite colors." She had
Hmm.
not seen the color, and that struck me. And then she started talking about her daughter. All this time, this woman had been telling me about the day her daughter killed herself, and she hadn't really talked to me about her daughter, the person
Hmm.
that she was, all the days she had lived.
Hmm.
So I thought, wow, this is something amazing. So at this time, I'm working for a company, so I didn't have the ability to, get the treatment myself. I wasn't private practice at that point, but I just thought as soon as I can do this on my own, I'm getting one of those things. I'm going to treat everybody. So every practice that I went to, I tried to get it started at the practice. I
Mhm.
work for a hospital system. I tried to be the first person at the hospital system to get this treatment, and I was just getting hit with roadblocks. And until I finally went out private practice, not for myself just yet, but was able to treat it. But I've been doing that for years now and treating people with that technology, even before the insurance companies would pay for it, because I saw it work. I saw
Mhm.
something happen that no amount of medication I was giving her or therapy, she wasn't being able to get past that wall that was
Mhm.
there from that really traumatic experience. And so over the years now, it's probably hundreds, maybe even thousands at this point, of people where I've seen, change with things that have been cutting edge, like TMS. Now we're in the whole psychedelic world. It's like a whole new category open up and opening up in psychiatry, just giving us more options and hopefully helping people to realize that just because that antidepressant didn't work for you 20 years ago,
Mhm.
we're 20 years fast forward now. There are new things. So just stay on the journey to getting well. It's I tell people all the time, being well, being healthy is a journey, not a destination. It's not like once you get there, you're good.
I wish, right? Don't we
Right.
wish?
Every second's going to bring
It's
you
a
something else because
Mhm.
feelings are fleeting. They change
Right.
constantly. So just get on the path, get on the journey to say, okay, well, I'm just going to keep going. Like,
Mhm.
okay, my doctor said, let's try this. Okay, we'll try it. Let's just keep moving
Mhm.
towards being better and better and better. That's really wellness. What I consider to be wellness is being better and better and better, progress every single day. That's wellness. It's not an endpoint. I'm well and I'll be there forever. No, you won't.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Because things happen, right? A
yeah,
lot of things beyond our
guaranteed.
control, a lot of things beyond our control, some things within our control, but that things happen every day. So
Right,
I like that. And even if it's not personal, things happen in the country, things happen in the world that affect you. So,
right,
it's important to take ownership of your mental health and take active steps to be well, right? It's not
right,
something you can just default into. I
right.
wish it was the case, maybe some people, but it's not like a default state of being like, "Oh, I'm just well." No,
Yeah,
no,
yeah. And some people, it may be a bit easier. I mean,
maybe.
50% of, how you feel has to do with your biology. So some people
Mhm.
show up with some happier genes than others, but there's still only 50%. 50% has to do
Right.
with a lot of other things. And so 50% is still pretty good odds, if I 50% is out of my control, but 50% is within my control, then I can do something about it. And that's all you have to do is be committed to let me control my 50%. What can I do about my 50%? I might not be able to do much about the other. That may be where medication is something that you have to pursue. But there's a 50% you can do a whole lot about.
Speaking of what we can do about it for our audience, you created this guidebook. So first you were on this beautiful book, which was with Lisa Nichols, the transformational speaker, Against All Odds. And I love that. I love that you are a big part of this book, but you also created this guidebook, which is a
Yeah.
blueprint for better mental health. So, could you share some, practical tips or advice from the book that high achieving professionals may be able to incorporate into their lives so that they can maintain their mental health even in
Yeah.
demanding times?
Yeah, that book, I created that book from the start for my clients that were going through that treatment that I was talking about. So the
Mhm.
TMS, they were coming in every day, and they come in every day for about 20 minutes for 6 weeks. And
Mhm.
so they would ask me all the time, so Dr. Nelson, what do I actually do? So like what do I do every day? So yeah, I'm doing my treatment, but what else can I do? And I realized that people just wanted some little action step to take because I
Mhm.
talked to them about, 1% progress is progress. So I sat down and I created that for them. And then honestly, I didn't even think about it anymore. I would just share with the TMS people that would come into my office. And I had a patient who came and she actually printed it out and bound it at Staples. And I thought, well, maybe I should bind this myself. So, and so then I decided to, at the encouragement of my husband as well, like, yeah, maybe you should bind this. People are printing it out and coming in with Staples copies. So then I actually put it out there to share with everybody on Amazon. But it's just simple. So I tried to make it very simple because we don't need to be in all scientific mumbo jumbo fluff. People just need to know, like, what can I do every day just to prioritize myself? So there's simple prompts. It will be a very simple thing like, okay, today let's just talk about movement, and okay, turn some music on and dance. Simple.
Yeah,
But
simple.
literally, if you say, okay, I'm going to turn some music on for 5 minutes, I'm going to dance, you will shift your mood. You did something very, very big, even though it took you 5 minutes, because self-care doesn't have to be, spas, massages, bubble baths, travel all the time. Self-care can be turn the music on and dance. Self-care can be to wash my hands very slowly. So self-care can be very, very tiny little steps that, if done consistently every day, can add up. So I wanted people to go through the book, and it was 40 days and 40 nights when I kind of looked at, wow, okay, it's 40 days and 40 nights. People are in the wilderness. And so I wanted them to go through it. And then at the end, go back and pick the ones that worked for you. So if you found 10 out of the 40 that worked for you, now you've crafted your blueprint that works for you, because all 40 of those are not going to work for everybody. Only 5 might work for me. That's my blueprint. 6 might work for you. That's your blueprint. And so now we're building something that we can carry throughout our life, because a lot of people just don't even know where to start. So that's why I created it. And I had so many people saying, well, you can go in and explain more about depression. I'm like, there's Google, there's WebMD. I don't need to write a whole book about what depression is.
Right.
Everybody can figure that out at this point. Chat GPT, whatever.
Yeah, we want to stop the depression, like get the action steps
Right.
to get out of depression.
Yeah.
And then I think a lot of professionals, I've been guilty of this too, don't get me wrong, but over analyzing instead of like taking action to
Yeah.
move forward,
Simple.
just thinking like, why? Well, why do I feel this way? Well, how did I start feeling this way? And I wonder when that started. Maybe when I was a kid at 2 or 3, or maybe, but that does not get you out. That
No.
gets
I tell
you.
my 9-year-old that all the time, because my son's 9. And so, at that age, they're like, well, why? Why? And I said, that is a question that is going to cause you a lot of wasted time. Like, because there are just some things you're just not going to get that answer to. So how about we talk about what can you do?
What can you do?
I
How
don't
can
know
I
that.
move forward? How can I
Right.
get better? And what's the first step I need to take? And then
Yeah.
just keep taking the next step like that. And I love that it provides so many options, but at the end, everyone's blueprint is unique because what everyone
Right.
needs is unique. And what brings joy to everyone is unique. So
Yeah.
with that being said, we have a game that we usually do as a warm-up game, but we'll do it as a wrap-up game today. It's called convergence. So you will just say, on the count of 3, you say the first word that comes on your mind. I say the first word that comes on my mind, and then we'll see if we can say the same word, right? So
Okay.
we may not say the same word the first time, but then on the second round, we'll try to find a word that connects the two, but it's not a person or not a very specific space. We try to keep it broad. So the first word is first thing on their mind. The next word is something that connects the 2 words that we said. Okay?
Okay.
All
Okay.
right. So
Got it.
on the count of 3, just say the first word, just clear your mind, let whatever forces create the words in our brain just spot out the first word on your mind. Ready?
All right.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Book. Oh, you're supposed to say the same time. What did you say?
Oh,
It's okay. What did you say?
so I said freedom.
Freedom. Okay,
So
so freedom,
yeah.
something that connects freedom and book. Okay, I got it. I think I got it. Ready?
Okay.
3, 3, 2, 1. Knowledge.
Create.
Create. So knowledge and create. Okay. Knowledge and create. Something that connects those two. Okay.
Hmm.
3, 2, 1. Ready? Art.
Quiet. You
What
said
did you say?
art.
I said
I said
art.
quiet. Yeah, well,
Quiet.
they're matching. They're
Oh,
matching.
there's actually, yeah, we're gonna get
Yeah,
there. We'll see if we get there. So art and quiet. Okay. Quiet and art. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Peace.
ooh, I paused. I
It's
paused.
okay. It's okay. It's okay. It takes practice being able to just say the first thing that comes. And sometimes I do that too. So, what was your word? Do you have one or you didn't have one?
No, I didn't have one because I just paused. I paused
Oh,
on it.
okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah,
No
but
problem.
when I
So,
think about art, quiet, peace,
okay. So
space,
let's put art. And what was the word you had before that? You had quiet, right?
yeah, yeah,
Okay. So quiet and art. Let's put those together and let's think. Peace.
joy.
Oh, I didn't. Okay, peace and joy. Okay,
Yeah,
and I forgot to count down. So peace and joy, and we'll do 3, 2, 1. So something that connects peace and joy. 3, 2, 1.
life.
Heaven, heaven, life.
Yeah,
Okay, heaven and life. Okay, heaven and life. Something that connects life and heaven. Mm. 3, 2, 1.
God.
World. Oh, world and God. I was thinking close. So
Yeah,
God and world. 3, 2, 1. Spirit.
everything.
Everything in
Yeah,
spirit. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, they're all connected
They're
though.
all
I think that
connected.
that's all the same. It's all the same space because I mean, honestly, you deduce it all down to what we're talking about. I mean, everything.
Mhm,
It's everything.
mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we'll end it at that as far as the game because it is very, very, very much connected. But we wrap up our show with 3 wrap-up questions.
Okay.
So tell us, Dr. Crystal Nelson, who is a model of joy in your life and why?
My dad, for
Mhm,
sure. So my dad is that model for me because I've watched him now being an adult and understanding what it meant for him to do what he did and raise 3 kids with limited education, limited means, to all of us being successful in our various industries and always doing that with love and a smile. And I mean, he just finds the best in every moment. And
mhm.
I don't even think he does it consciously at this point, but he does it in every moment. The food could be terrible at a restaurant, and my dad is the person that'll say, "Did you taste that bread though?" He's just,
They
I
had
mean,
good bread and the water tastes good too.
right. Everybody else is complaining, and he's like, "But the bread was great."
The bread is good.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, for sure.
I love that. I wonder, I'm just so curious. This is just an aside, is that with our parents, you wonder if they like just developed that naturally, or is that was, or they had experience and they just decided, they made that decision that I'm just not gonna complain. I'm
Yeah.
gonna pick the good and I'm gonna move forward with that. And I'm gonna keep, and once you make it a practice, it just becomes part of who you are. And
Oh,
once you
for
do it
sure. For
long,
sure.
yeah.
I mean, I know my grandmother, his mother, was a very, just a really safe, positive person as well. And I
Mhm,
know she had her hardships that he would have witnessed as a child.
mhm,
So some of it had to at some point be a choice. I'm sure genetically they have some happy genes, but it had to be a choice to not focus on the negative and
mhm,
to see the positive. But he's done it now, I think, for so many years
mhm,
that I don't even know sometimes that he knows he's doing it,
mhm,
and just shift a mood, shift a room because he forces you to see the positive in all the situations.
mhm.
Yeah.
That's great. So our next question is, if you were baking a cake of joy, of course, it's a theoretical cake, what
Yeah.
would your top 3 ingredients be and why?
So I would say spirituality,
Mhm,
physical health, good physical health, and then good mental health. I think those three, I mean, hands down, will give you joy.
mhm,
Yeah. But you
mhm.
can't leave off one or the other because if
No.
you just put the two, I think in medicine, the part we try to leave off is spirituality,
Mm,
and
mhm,
then you can't get the cake. You just
mm,
can't because you leave because we try to leave it off. And
mhm,
whether we believe in whatever religion, to me that part doesn't matter. You cannot separate that. You don't know what you are and how you got here or how we're even talking to each other through something with wires. You have no idea.
mhm.
So there is a spiritual component that you and I don't understand that we have to give reverence to really appreciate this life we have in this world that we live in.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. And I think I agree with you. Spirituality is so important,
Yeah.
regardless of our individual belief systems,
Right.
because there's so much that happens in our lives that's completely beyond our control.
Absolutely.
And if we think that it's not for good or that there's no purpose in it, it can affect your mental health. So
Yeah.
having that anchor that, yes, there's things happening beyond my control, but I trust and believe that there's a higher power that is
Yeah.
in control in some way so that I don't have to be, or
Mhm.
that it helps. It helps
Yeah.
improve your mental health immensely. And
Yeah.
knowing that we're here for a purpose, most of
Right.
us, we're all here for a purpose, but
Right.
having that belief helps your mental
Yeah.
health overall as well, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. I tell patients all the time, it's like, whoever, whatever you believe created you, I'm pretty certain they didn't need me. They
Mhm,
didn't need you. So if I'm here, you're here, it's probably by design.
mhm,
So there's some joy just in knowing that you're not an accident
mhm.
because there would be no need for you. Like human beings don't have that much control. We see that every day. I was
Yeah.
just in DC and what was it, Tropical Storm Debbie? I don't know.
Mhm.
Like clearly we do not have control over much.
Right.
So,
Right, we're just thankful that we got to wake up again, and it's like,
yeah,
like,
right.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you for another day, because we know a lot of things can happen that are completely beyond our control,
right, right,
but knowing that we're here for a reason every day, we're still here, and there has to be a reason we're still here, or,
right. Exactly.
so I love that you incorporate spirituality as well. So thank you, thank you, thank you so much. This was a great interview. I really enjoyed talking to you. I'm sure our listeners enjoyed learning more about your practice, Dr. Nelson, and also learning about the blueprint for better mental health. And they can find this book, right? Is it on Amazon? It's on Amazon.
Yeah. Yeah, you can get it on Amazon or you can just go to our website, which is
Blueprint.
blueprintspsychiatry.com, and the links
Mhm.
for both books are on the website.
Perfect. And then if you are in the audience and you are in Georgia, then you can also check out blueprintpsychiatry.com. And if you're looking to find a new mental health specialist, a psychiatrist like Dr. Nelson, who's able to care for you holistically. Also, you can follow Dr. Nelson on Instagram at Dr. Crystal Nelson. And you can follow her on Facebook at Blueprint Psychiatry LLC. Thank you so much, everyone. Make sure you share this podcast episode with a friend and like and subscribe for our future episodes. This topic is so, so important, taking away the stigma for mental health care, especially among everyone, but especially among high achieving professionals, because it's important to take care of your health as well, especially your mental health and physical health. So thank you again. You have anything else to add, Dr. Nelson, before we leave?
No, thank you. It was a lot of fun. I mean, it was a lot of fun and super relaxed. Sometimes I have to speak and it's definitely not super relaxed. So I always
Oh,
love when I get to just have conversation, which is what I enjoy most. it's having just good conversation with exciting and great people. So thank you.
All right. Thank you.